So another major story that's virtually blacked out from the media is the farmer strike in India, which has been going on for several months. It's been reported that a local news outlet, NewsClick, was raided just last night, and the editors were detained for criticizing Modi. Can you tell us how the strike began? What's the motive behind our mainstream media refusing to cover the largest strike in human history and Modi's repression? And what can the US left learn from our comrades in India?
Okay. Well, Modi is a Hindu nationalist. Majority of India, the religion is Hindu. There's a history of, brutal repression of Muslims. Modi himself is linked to some pretty ugly massacres and such, and has said a lot of very anti-Islamic things. Modi is a right-winger, but he's kind of like Trump in the sense that he was not a pro-mainstream neoliberal right-winger. He was a little bit more of what you might call like new right or alternative right candidate. And he came in and he spoke critically of the United States. He spoke critically, especially of US culture. And, he's socially conservative, against pornography, much more traditional, emphasizing Hindu traditionalism. He's a little more anti-Christian, I would say, than many previous administrations. There's been a lot of forced conversions and things, and repression of the Christian minority in India under his leadership as well. And that's not getting a lot of reporting in the United States. But regardless, he came into office, and he did seem like he might be a little more friendly to Russia and China, though, because, he was critical of the United States. And remember, Obama, I believe, denied him a visa to come to the United States at one point. And so there was some hope that maybe this guy might have an anti-imperialist streak in him. But it seems like as Pakistan got more and more friendly to China with the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, in response to that, Modi became more and more pro-US. And basically joined with the USA in their trade war against China. And he's doubled down on that. And Trump kind of embraced him. And so, it used to be the USA was kind of neutral between China and Pakistan. Now it's pretty clear, or between India and Pakistan. Now it's pretty clear USA is with India, Pakistan is with China. And that's how it is at this point. Now, Modi, interestingly, his economic policies have been criticized pretty widely in the U.S. press. They've criticized his banking regulations in particular. He's regulated the banking sphere, and he is a bit of a Bonapartist for Indian capitalists, right? He has regulated banking in a way that's been made it a little harder for American and British banks to do business in India and such. And so they've accused him of being a dictator every so often, and in the Wall Street Journal and such. But regardless, what's going on now is basically he's doubled down. He is for the trade war against China. China is a huge investor in India. So obviously China's investments in India has decreased. There have been border clashes. And to go along with his escalation against China, Modi has introduced neoliberal reforms to the agricultural sector. India had a huge subsidy to their farmers, which was that in India, if you have a farm, you don't sell your produce directly to agribusiness corporations. You sell your produce to the government at a fixed rate that the government sets, and then the government sells them to Monsanto. That's the idea, right? And Modi is eliminating this. So now, if you're a farmer in India, you're going to have to sell your produce directly to Monsanto for whatever price Monsanto wants to buy it at. And the result is going to be a lot of farmers losing a lot, right? Because, this is a huge subsidy. And really, it was during the Cold War in India, you had a lot of pro-Soviet left-wing governments that were not communist, but were progressive and enacted a lot of very progressive reforms. And this agricultural policy of the state buying from farmers at set rates, that was a very progressive reform. And now that that's been gotten rid of, a lot of farmers are facing ruin. And so they're protesting, they're striking. The labor unions are aligned with them. The Communist Party of India Marxist is supporting them. The Communist Party of India is supporting them. The Socialist Unity Center of India is supporting them. Communists are leading these demonstrations. There's big hammers and sickles in the crowds. And this is a huge uprising that's taking place. And Modi, he may claim that he's an Indian nationalist, but he made a deal with the devil. He got in with the United States and with Trump. He joined their trade war against China, which is a really stupid move. Any country to get into a trade war with China right now is like the dumbest thing you can do. Their economy is speeding ahead. So, for India, the second largest population in the world, right there on China's border, to go along with Trump and his trade war against China, they're just shooting themselves in the foot. And now, Modi is now enacting these very, very painful, cuts in subsidies to farmers. and the people of the country are in revolt against him. However, I think that there is, the reason, you're talking about this TV station getting raided and all of this is that, we're facing a situation that is approaching something like what, might escalate into almost a civil war or something, because there's a very, very big layer of India's economy that is pro-China. There's a very, very big layer of India's economy that wants, the state to continue, stimulating the economy and is tied in with the state. You have an entire province, Kerala, that's run by the Communist Party of India Marxist, which is a tanky Marxist-Leninist party. This is a situation that could very easily, one thing could lead to another. I mean, the Indian bourgeoisie they're at each other's throats over this. And with the context of the pandemic, with the context of Pakistan getting closer to China, this could all quickly spin out of control into almost perhaps a revolutionary situation. I mean, this is the kind of thing that gave birth to Bolivarianism in Venezuela. It was a crisis just like this, where basically the leaders are forcing neoliberal reforms on the country, and the population is going, whoa, we don't want this. And even some layers of the ruling class are going, whoa, we don't want this. But the leaders have become so dependent on the backing of the United States that they say no. I have a feeling that Modi is probably on the phone with Americans saying, I don't want to do this. This is going to destroy my political legacy. And they're saying, no, you are with us. China's not going to help you. And Modi has backed himself into a corner where, in order to appease American corporations, Washington, he's having to do things that are making him politically very, very unpopular. He's wrecking his own country's economy, basically. And the people of India are ready to rise up against him. And this could very, very much escalate into something like what happened in Venezuela, or God forbid, something, more violent or catastrophic, this could become a situation where India ultimately moves towards socialism, I think, because the role of the communists in leading the resistance, the role of China's role being so big in all of this, all of that, points toward a situation where we could see a socialist India, I think, come out of this. I mean, it depends how the communist parties position themselves. It depends what's able to be negotiated. But Modi has backed himself into a corner here, and I don't see him getting out of this. I think Modi will be out of office the next election, no question about it.
Nice.
Yeah, and I think this these strikes have been going on since like September, I think, right? These have been going on since for quite a while, and I think the left in the U.S. here, the socialist parties here that exist, I don't know. I think there's a lot to learn from how well organized they are compared to here, where we just chase movements.
Yeah, well, I mean, the communists of India, you have to remember, they control whole provinces, whole neighborhoods. I mean, they have trade unions with millions of members that are explicitly communist-aligned trade unions. They have, they have all kinds of mass organizations. The communist group I was in for many years had a relationship with the Socialist Unity Center of India Communist. And that is actually one of the smaller communist groups in India. And they control whole neighborhoods. They have millions of people. They would fill up, just huge auditoriums. We would go to these international gatherings, and it would be massive, the number of people. And this is actually one of the less influential communist parties in India. When it comes to the Communist Party of India Marxist, who I've had the honor of meeting with at many different international communist gatherings, I mean, that is a major, major organization, very well represented in the Indian parliament. They'll have demonstrations of hundreds of thousands of people marching with hammers and sickles, and Marxism, you have to remember, at one point India was aligned with the Soviet Union, and you had leaders from the Congress Party of India who claimed they were Marxists when they were not, and enacted kind of social democratic or nationalistic Keynesian policies. But even to have the president of the United States or the president of India on TV urging the population to read Marx and Lenin, and you have to remember, India, it never had a socialist revolution, but it's a country where Marxism is very, very deeply embedded in the country. Probably one of the saddest things, and I'll comment on our Marxist movement here in the United States, is that Marxism in India is huge. It's massive. I mean, it's millions and millions and millions of people. It's whole provinces and stuff. But it seems like on the internet, among American Marxists, they think there is one Marxist movement in India, and that's the Naxals. And it's really sad. You know what I mean? The Naxals, they exist. There's some armed groups in Andhra Pradesh and such, but it's like the Naxalites that are doing their kind of rural people's war thing, they are not... they are not the center of the action in India. And And the folks who act like the Naxals are the only thing that matters in India are just completely clueless. The Naxals are not leading this farmers' uprising in India right now. You know, they may support it. Some of them may support it. Some of them probably oppose it. Let's remember, Naxals have assassinated leaders of other communist parties in India. They've done it on many occasions. And they, you know, and so, you know, and it's kind of sad. And that's kind of, you know, where Western leftists can kind of be a little bit out of touch, right? I mean, what I just said to you all, I didn't just tell you what one particular communist group that I like is doing in India. I gave you a whole analysis of the Indian bourgeoisie, the alliances, et cetera. And I think that is how to really understand politics. If you talk to somebody who's like an internet Marxist, you know, say they're a Trotskyist, they'll tell you what the little tiny Trotskyist group they follow in India is doing. And that's not understanding India's politics, right? If someone says to me, oh, well, the Naxal, they don't understand Indian politics, right? That this kind of sectarian understanding where it's about, you know, I only follow the communists who say the right magic words and incantation. That's not really understanding politics. To really understand what's going on in the world, you have to have a broader understanding of the different class forces and what's going on. And that's what I urge people to do. I talk a lot about kindergarten communism. When you're in kindergarten, right, you learn the colors, right? This is red, this is green, this is purple, right? You learn the colors, 1, 2, 3, right? And then for a lot of people that are very new to Marxism, they think that that is what it means to be a Marxist. This is a capitalist. This is a communist. This is a Maoist. This is a Trotsky. And it's like just putting labels on things is not enough, right? There are contending forces. There are divisions in the ruling class. There are factions. There are tactics. There are strategies. There are alliances. There's a lot more to it than that. And when I see people that call themselves Marxists, a lot of times they just play this game where it's like put the label on the donkey or whatever. That is not real political analysis. And if you read, you know, Karl Marx wrote a beautiful pamphlet, The 18th Brumaire of Louis Bonaparte or Louis Napoleon. And in that pamphlet, right, I mean, he doesn't just sit there and go, Louis Napoleon is a capital. No, I mean, it's a very complex analysis of the bankers of France, what they want, the industrial capitalists of France, what they want, the farmers of France, what they want, the revolutionary movement, what they want, the trade unions, what they want. You know, I mean, it's a very, very, you know, that should be the model. If you want to understand how a Marxist analyzes a crisis in a country, read what Marx wrote in that pamphlet, you know, and try to be like that.